Guys, so one of the biggest names in ransomware just got taken down by law enforcement. LockBit, which holds about 25% of the ransomware market, has essentially been shut down by the US and the EU, and we're seeing arrests coming out of Ukraine and France. This stuff is going crazy. Let's dive in. Today, we're facing an unprecedented array of data breaches, hacking attempts, and surges in digital crime. Why is there such a widespread amount, and how little is noticed in our everyday lives? Malware, dark sites, brute forcing, zero-days, script kiddies, and nation-state hackers are all on the rise. Learn more about the threats we face and gain a bit more knowledge than yesterday. Hey everyone, another episode of Exploit Brokers is coming to you now. So guys, let's just kind of jump into it right away. So Reuters has reported an article, LockBit cybercrime gang disrupted by Britain, US, and EU. In a massive joint operation by multiple agencies, they've taken a strike force against something known as LockBit, which for those of my listeners or my watchers who aren't aware, LockBit is a massive ransomware gang. They control up to 25% of the cybercrime ransomware market, right? So 1 in 4 ransomwares essentially belong to them. I believe when they say 25%, it's actually more about market cap, but for the sake of this argument, they are massive players. The next biggest one is not anywhere in the double digits at all. So let's go ahead and jump into the article. London, February 19th, Reuters, LockBit, a notorious cybercrime gang that holds its victims' data to ransom, has been disrupted in a rare international law enforcement operation, the gang and US and UK authorities said on Monday. The operation was run by Britain's National Crime Agency, the US Federal Bureau of Investigation, Europol, and a coalition of international police agencies, according to a post on the gang's extortion website. So, let's give a bit of context here. Whenever a ransomware happens, specifically the way LockBit was running it, is they would hit your system, right? So all your stuff would be encrypted. And then they would post it on the website saying, hey, you have X amount of time to pay the ransomware or else we'll start leaking your information. The website that they were using for victims to go and see how much time they had left and for pretty much you to be able to see all the victims was essentially hijacked or taken over by these law enforcement agencies when they took down the servers for LockBit in something called Operation Cronos. Keep going. The site is now under the control of the National Crime Agency of the UK, working in close cooperation with the FBI and International Law Enforcement Task Force, Operation Cronos, the post said. Guys, as well, we are trying to grow the channel, trying to get as many people informed as possible. Please, if you have not, hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell icon, and like the video so that way the algorithm can get it spread out. Unlike ransomware, we don't want it to spread, but we do want the channel to spread. So, continuing, an NCA spokesperson and a U.S. Department of Justice spokesperson confirmed that the agencies had disrupted the gang and the operation was ongoing and developing. And ongoing and developing was. We have another article that we're going to touch on momentarily where there have been arrests that are made and servers and infrastructure has been taken down. This is still developing. I am recording this the 21st sometime at night. And there's a good chance that by the 22nd tomorrow, there's even more information that's out, but I'm going with what I got right now at the moment. So, officials in the United States, where LockBit has hit more than 1,700 organizations in nearly every industry from financial services and food to schools, transportation, and government departments, have described the group as the world's top ransomware threat. A representative for LockBit did not respond to the messages from Reuters seeking comment, but did post messages on an encrypted messaging app saying it had backup servers not affected by law enforcement action. So, if you've been around for any of my episodes or if you've checked out my episodes recently, you know that I am a major backups proponent, right? So your backups should have backups. Just back up as many levels as possible because you never know what can happen. Keep them off site. There's a lot of good practices you can do for backups. But I mean, when the bad guys or when the cyber criminals are doing backups, you know that logic is at least relevant from a technical perspective. I just find it interesting. And the FBI did not immediately respond to requests for comment. The post named other international police organizations from France, Japan, Switzerland, Canada, Australia, Sweden, the Netherlands, Finland, and Germany. Oh, do we need to talk about France? And right now we're also going to talk about Ukraine. So you have this major disruptive cybercrime, LockBit, that, I mean, there's over 1,700 organizations, pretty much like the article states. But the magnitude of this, you had pretty much every sector would get hit. They didn't really spare any sector. And a lot of these LockBit ransomware attacks actually came up on the channel, I think, a couple times. But there's a lot of articles that I read and I go through, and I just don't have enough time to make videos for the channel. And LockBit tends to come up often. They are pretty active and they're pretty widespread. So this is definitely a hit for people, for organizations in the good direction, right? You have a major threat that's been pulled off for the time being, right? Whenever you break down something else will pop up in its place, right? So LockBit and its affiliates have hacked some of the world's largest organization in recent months. The gang makes money by stealing sensitive data and threatening to leak it if victims fail to pay an extortion ransom. If affiliates are like-minded criminal groups that LockBit recruits to wage attacks using its digital extortion tools. So you have the concept of a software as a service, or a SaaS. Well, LockBit, I think, was one of the organizations or cybercrime organizations that pretty much created the RAS, or the ransomware as a service. And you would essentially be able to become an affiliate with them. You would, in fact, and then they would take a cut, you would take a cut. Essentially like an affiliate program specifically for ransomware attacks. So going on a little bit more, LockBit was discovered in 2020 when its eponymous, I'm probably mispronouncing that, malicious software was found on Russian language cybercrime forums, leading some security analysts to believe the gang is based in Russia. The gang has not professed support for any government, however, and no government has formally attributed to a nation state. On its now defunct dark web site, the group said it was located in the Netherlands, completely apolitical and only interested in money. They are the Walmart of ransomware groups. They run it like a business. That's what makes them different, said John DiMaggio, Chief Security Analyst at Analyst One, a US-based security firm. They are arguably the biggest ransomware crew today. So, from everything I've read and everything I know about them, they do operate kind of like, I guess you could say they're like a Walmart, in the sense where they're not political as much as they want money, right? They want the best bang for buck for their cybercrime operations. It's ROI, right? If cyber criminals lost money every time they did an attack, they would eventually run out of funds to commit cybercrimes, just like any business, really. A lot of criminal enterprises are just that. They're quote-unquote businesses, whether a small 1 or 2 man thing or a huge crew setup. They're ultimately businesses that need to make money. I was even listening to a podcast recently by Jack Resider. I love his stuff. If you haven't checked him out, check him out. Darknet Diaries, really cool. And he was interviewing, but it wasn't an interview. It was about a scam coming out of Pakistan, but he wanted to protect the person's identity out of their request, so he brought on a voice actor. But essentially the scam was fake universities, and they were handing out fake diplomas for money, right? So it's a different kind of cybercrime. They were scamming people and using essentially this quote-unquote fake service, a university. But here you have an extortion. You have where they take your data, your information for ransom, and they'll threaten to leak your private information, customer information, employee information, stuff that the public shouldn't have, back records and etc. Or if they've encrypted everything and you don't have backups, then you've lost a lot of your data, whether that's customer data, financial data, or just the system data, right? If your entire product's data disappears tomorrow, how much is your company worth? And that's what a lot of these cyber criminals kind of go after, right? If they can make you pay a subset of your revenue to get your business back online, is it worth it for them? It could be. We even saw where there was ransomware groups that hit hotels in Vegas, and one of the hotels paid and the other didn't. And, there is money, illegal money to be made in the ransomware game. And one of the biggest guys, LockBit, has just been taken down. I'm predicting that we're going to see some of the other cyber criminals kind of either step up the game in the long term, or maybe even the short term, but I think you're going to have a lot of them try to go stealth mode. And what I mean by that is there's a lot of heat right now on government agencies taking down ransomware groups, right? They just took LockBit. They could be on a roll and could be aiming for the next bit guy. So I think there's going to be some fragmentation and nothing coming up. And that's if LockBit doesn't have backup members and it can resume operations in some way. Let's actually keep going through this article because I still have one other article to talk about with Ukraine and France, and it's kind of super epic. Highly significant is the next section of the article. According to VX Underground, a cybersecurity research website, LockBit said in a statement in Russian and shared on Talks, an encrypted messaging app, that the FBI hid its servers that run on the programming language PHP. The statement, which Reuters could not verify independently, added that it has backup servers without PHP that are not touched. So, VX Underground, if you guys don't know about them, check out their Twitter, check out their website. What is the password? You'll get that joke once you see their stuff. But VX Underground is this really cool, I don't know if it's a person, an entity, but VX Underground as a website, as a Twitter thing, they host a lot of malware samples, papers, and stuff like that. And it's just kind of really cool to look at some of the stuff. If you're into reverse engineering or anything like that, I highly suggest check them out. They even have some hard drives for sale with pretty much all the data that you can order from them. There's a couple of major cybersecurity people who I think endorse them, if you will. John Hammond, I think, being the most recent. So it's just one of those, like, hey, they've even caught wind of this article, and it's just really cool. So on X, formerly known as Twitter, VX Underground shared screenshots showing the control panel used by LockBit's affiliates to launch attacks had been replaced with a message from law enforcement. We have source code detailed of the victims you have attacked, the amount of money extorted, the data stolen, chats, and much, much more, it said. So pretty much law enforcement has pwned their servers, right? They have it. They have the information. They have the data troves of stuff that they're going to start sifting through, trying to figure out how much money was taken, any chat logs, see if they can pretty much correspond or not correspond. They can say X person was behind this thing and this group was behind this thing. And again, no, we're going to touch on an arrest that happened in Ukraine, and you're going to be mind blown from it because I'm pretty sure that may have come from this information that was found. I'm fairly certain. So we may be in touch with you very soon, it added. Have a nice day. Funny troll. So before it was taken down, LockBit's website displayed an ever-growing gallery of victim organizations that was updated nearly daily. Next to the names were digital clocks that showed the number of days left to the deadline given each organization to provide ransom payment. On Monday, LockBit's site displayed a similar countdown, but from law enforcement agencies who hacked the hackers. Return here for more information at 11:30 GMT on Tuesday, 20th February, the Post said. So, what's going on is they took them down, they have a website, and it seems like these organizations are going hard. They are going to try to take down as many of the affiliates and everything else as they can, and this is just what I'm getting from Reuters, right? There's probably a bunch of information that has yet to be revealed, and it's just super interesting. I haven't looked at the 11:30 GMT because it's already the 21st when I'm recording this, so I'm assuming they've updated their website. And I will see if I can find that and put it into later this episode. But okay, on to the next article, also by Reuters, talking about Ukraine's arrest related to this. Let's jump into that. So by Reuters, Ukraine arrests father-son duo in LockBit cybercrime bust. And if we scroll down, they have like a summary where Ukraine arrest led to the seizure of 200 crypto accounts, 34 servers. The father-son duo was arrested in western Ukraine city of Ternopil, and arrested hackers targeted government institutions and corporations in France. So France is involved in this too. International task force launched following French calls for action. So Kiev, London, February 21st by Reuters. Police in Ukraine said on Wednesday they had arrested a father-son duo, following in dad's footsteps, I guess, who belonged to the cybercrime gang LockBit, which was disrupted by an international law enforcement operation led by Britain's National Crime Agency and the FBI earlier this week, the article that we just referenced previously. The father and son, neither of whom were named by police, were wanted for carrying out attacks using ransomware, malicious software used to digitally extort victims, against enterprises, state institutions, and healthcare institutions in France, the National Police of Ukraine said in a statement. Investigators conducted a number of searches at the residence of hackers in Ternopil, during which mobile phones and computer equipment used in illegal activities were seized. On Tuesday, the NCA, FBI, US Department of Justice, and Europol said a joint law enforcement operation dubbed Operation Cronos had disrupted the core activities of LockBit, one of the world's most damaging cybercrime organizations. And the US has charged two Russian nationals with deploying LockBit ransomware tools against companies and groups around the world. Police in Poland and Ukraine made 2 arrests, police agencies said. As a result of the arrest, Ukraine law enforcement were able to seize more than 200 cryptocurrency accounts and 34 servers used by the gangs in the Netherlands, Germany, Finland, France, Switzerland, Australia, the United States, and Britain. Wednesday's Ukraine police statement said. There was massive bust, right? 200 cryptocurrency accounts. You can imagine how much money was in there, given that they had 25% of the market. Even if these 200 were only a subset, that's not chump change. And 34 servers used by the gangs in multiple countries, including France, because I think part of all this was actually France was pushing to try to get some action taken against these hackers in Ukraine. And there's a bit more in the article, but just to kind of give you a heads up, right? And so we're seeing that there was gangs in multiple countries: Netherlands, Germany, Finland, France, Switzerland, Australia, the US, Britain. And I mean, that is a lot of countries. And not only that, that's a lot of developed countries. You have a lot of money in ransomware activities and companies, organizations that run in those companies, right? Some private, some public, some government. And we know that LockBit has been very active in trying to extort and take out as much money from entities as possible. So the fact that there's 34 servers that were used by them that were taken down, even if they have a couple backups, they can't have that many, right? If they had 60 servers total, this is a bit more than 50% of their infrastructure taken down. And I imagine a lot of key players taken down. So even if they're still able to partially operate, that's a huge hit. But I don't know how much they're operating. It's just, this is big. This made it possible to block the activities of the main hacking platform and other criminal critical infrastructure, it added. Before it was seized by police, LockBit was able to extort multiple hacking victims at the same time through its website, which listed the names of breach companies and organizations next to a countdown timer that, upon reaching 0, would release a victim's data unless they paid a ransom. Operation Cronos, I know, like the 5th time I say it, but Operation Cronos was unique in that police agencies, once in control of LockBit's website, used LockBit's own digital platform to leak data about the secret inner workings of the group. So when they got the website, when they got the servers, they were able to find out a bunch of information. There's even a website now where you can download decryption keys if you've been hit or attacked by LockBit ransomware or one of the current victims. I will try to list that website in the description. Apologies if I can't find it. So, continue forward, the French connection. So, Ukrainian police said the investigations and arrests have been carried out following a request from France. According to a statement from France's public prosecutor on Tuesday, France began investigating LockBit in 2020 and was home to more than 200 of the gang's victims, including hospitals, town halls, and businesses nationwide. In January 2022, LockBit claimed on its leak website to have hacked France's Justice Ministry. France was apparently the dragon that got poked too hard, right? They started pushing for this specific arrest, which was probably tied to the other organizations. I don't know all the list of organizations that were part of it. The article I was talking about touched on several of them, but the most notable being Europol and the FBI from the US. And I'm just kind of, this is super interesting, right? It's a massive organization taken up by multiple entities cooperating. That's how damaging this cybercrime organization was, is. You can never really get multiple countries to really agree to do anything unless there's some massive threat, right? If it's something small scale, they just won't operate, right? Each of these companies, each of these governments have their own things they want to accomplish. So the fact that all these entities had the same goal of taking down LockBit because they were so damaging, I think talks to how powerful this cybercrime group was. And I can only imagine what's going to happen going down, right? It's interesting. And on Wednesday, police in Poland identified the LockBit gang member arrested there as 38-year-old man in Warsaw. As in Ukraine, that arrest was carried out along with members of a special French cyber police unit, according to statements and photos published by police. Guys, this is just crazy. 25% of all the ransomware was by LockBit. It's not an insignificant number. It's truly staggering, and they've been taken down. So the question is, what's going to happen next? I could see this going in a couple different ways, but they're purely guesses. One is that their main people are taken down, but they have a backup crew, or they have backup people, in which case they can operate in a smaller scale. They won't be hitting that 25% anymore. That's one. The websites make it seem like that's probably not the case, but that is a possibility. The second possibility is they really have been completely taken offline. The main players have been taken off. Any remaining members are going to try to hide or make themselves scarce, and the police seize the majority, if not all, of the major hardware and servers and software and everything else. Maybe even took the primary encryption keys, in which case you'd have to recreate everything, and that may not be feasible. Again, if the main characters or the main people arrested were the developers of the malware, you're going to need a different technical team now. So that's two. And then 2B is that this whole Operation Cronos also starts going against the affiliates, or the people who were pushing it. I mean, there was already this arrest in Ukraine, in which case we're going to see a lot more arrests coming out in the affiliate network of LockBit. So not just the main players, but their quote-unquote salesmen or affiliates. Because ultimately what the affiliates were is you'd have Group X that would help infect Company A and then get paid a portion of the ransom by LockBit. Based off what I've read, based off what I know about them. It's just insane. It really is insane. I am curious to see where this goes. And then the third thing that can happen, and it's kind of going to happen in conjunction with the first two things. So more than three, I guess. Let's call it alternative. I don't know. Is you're going to have other ransomwares do one of two things. They'll either try to get more of the ransomware market, which could put a huge target on them depending on how big they get. That is a possibility. Or they're going to make themselves scarce. They're going to try to go into stealth mode. Ransomware groups already try to be stealthy as much as possible, in the sense that they don't want to trigger alarms if they don't need to. They need to alert the organization that got hacked, but they kind of don't want any other heat on them. So we'll see. We'll see where the affiliates and where the main LockBit goes, whether they've been truly taken down or whether they'll pop back up. And we'll see where the affiliates are, if they get taken down or not. We'll never know. Maybe we'll know, but I'm curious how much of that data was on there. And then the last thing that we're going to try to keep an eye on is what's going to happen with the other ransomwares, other ransomware operators. Will they suddenly take up more piece of the pie, or will they go into the darkness to kind of let some of the press and some of the heat on this die off? It's definitely interesting. Guys, I want to thank you for tuning into another episode of Exploit Brokers. If you haven't, please hit that subscribe, hit that bell notification icon, like the video. If you're on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, please follow and review the podcast. This has been your host, Laudo, and I will see you in the next one.